Hello, everyone. Welcome to another spotlight session. I have Jay with me, who is the winner from my writing challenge from previous month, and I'm so excited about this conversation because he is one of the most creative writers in our community and really, really active. And we're going to talk a little bit about more about his Substack today. So, welcome, Jay. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk a little bit about what I do, my particular quirks, and what I do with my Substack, my newsletter.
Yeah, of course, of course. You are so active, and I think you already have a lot of experience, and it's interesting because your niche is different, and I think you will be a great example for people in our community who are trying to also achieve good results on Substack in smaller or different niches than the traditional ones.
Very
So
good.
yeah, really excited about our conversation. Um, Maybe can we start with a little bit of introduction? Maybe tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, yeah. So as I said, my name is Jay Corso, and I am a really big fan of storytelling. So I explore storytelling across all the forms of media that are available, like comics, predominantly comics, because that's what I happen to be doing at the moment. But movies as well, novels, short stories. And I'm also now exploring what's possible to do now with the digital platforms. Like I see people doing stuff on Instagram, on YouTube, doing what they call ARGs, like alternate reality gaming. And I find that to be so cool and interesting and often a lot more enjoyable than what Hollywood spends millions and millions making, where people just do it with their phones and couple of apps and props that they find at the dollar store. So I find that very exciting. The idea of like this new dimension of storytelling where you take the traditional, very old structure of episodes, but bring it into this digital arena, and the results are very exciting. So that's something that I'm going to be discussing as I move along in my newsletter. At the moment, I'm doing comics because I happen to be in that kick,
Yeah.
but I'm going to cover other media as well. And simultaneously with that, with this discussing storytelling, I also talk about creativity and how creativity can be blocked or can be released in large amounts when you got your mind right. When you the same problem that I guess we all deal with. When we're trying to do things that other people do not understand, they just don't understand. It's a little bit unconventional. It's different, and that starts to weigh in on our minds. We start kind of like making ourselves smaller. Maybe we don't express ourselves as fully as much as we would like. So I address that, because that's something that I've dealt with a lot in the past. And I found ways to just, ignore people, just put them aside and do this thing that you're compelled to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully, some of what I share in my newsletter will serve other people as well. How
Yeah.
to just get your mind right, so you just do the things that you want to do with the people who appreciate it and are interested in it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the biggest challenges for creators to be able to stay focused and to also get out of themselves all of this creativity and all of those ideas that
Mhm.
are, standing inside of you. But often you find it a bit difficult to do it because it's simply challenging and there's so much distractions and also a lot of other boring stuff to do,
Yes, yeah. It's funny you mentioned that today. I went to the Department of Motor Vehicles to upgrade my license to the Real ID.
Okay.
Pretty much the entire morning just gone, just gone on just making
Exactly.
that one little transaction. Yeah, so it's like you said, just all these boring things. But as I was doing that, I was also writing, writing a little bits and pieces for future post and recordings, which I plan to do in the future, recordings of audio and video. So it was not a complete waste of time, and that's the wonderful thing about writing, where you really just can do it with anything, whether it be with digital tools or just a pen and a notebook. You can just go. You can do it anywhere. So
Exactly.
that's wonderful. And just unload that creativity onto the pen and paper, and then from there take it to whatever other medium you may want to. It can stay in that in print, or it can be videos. It can be audio. It
Yeah,
can be photography. It can be collage. It can be many things. And that's
exactly.
one of the awesome things about Substack. I see just all kinds of creativity across the board, and not just art, but also like business. How to take a creative approach towards business. Like for example, you did that. Like when I subscribed to your thing and I started reading your post, I was like, oh, okay, so if I can channel all these things that I do. I can sort of make them easy for people to understand. I don't have to be like kind of scattered, like I'm here, then I'm here over there. I
Yeah,
can just sort of funnel it into something that people can follow
yeah,
and create a familiar template for them to keep coming back to. Oh, I recognize that from last time. Only
yeah,
it's not quite the same, but it's similar. So
Exactly.
there's a creativity going in all directions.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's funny how we have so many creative ideas in our like brains, but in order to consume new content, it has to go through this, structured way of consuming the content. So you have to put your creativity into a more like boring but structured and easy to consume and digest way. So it's really amazing. Yeah, I'm
Yes,
also
that is
fascinated
true.
about our processes in our minds and how do we get to be creative, but also very much analytic as well.
Yes. Communicate value, I guess. Like you have things to say, but unless you make that shift in your mind and then, and you start sort of organizing yourself, you
Yeah,
feel the change. You feel like, for example, as I said, going back to learning, reading your posts and applying your ideas,
yeah,
I've gradually been able to not explain myself better. Like I can keep a thought straight long enough to make it a coherent piece of writing
yeah, exactly.
or anything else. And then you express yourself better, you
Yeah,
communicate clearer, so you notice that effect. I was like, oh wow, I have things to say. Then from there, the other part starts. Oh, okay, I just need to organize myself. It maybe means doing a little more work. Like you would like to be free, what you think of like free, but really you're not. You're like sort of all over the place, and you always struggle to communicate, whether it's in writing or verbally. But when you sort of start organizing your own thought process,
yeah,
you actually find that you have as much or more creativity than before, because now you have like a set of guidelines, like you have like a template, and
yeah,
it's like, okay, I had this template, but within this template I have a lot of freedom, I have a lot of creativity, I have a lot of choices and things that I can do to present things to people in a way that's entertaining but also valuable, something that hopefully they can take something away from it.
yeah, yeah. It's for me that's the system actually. When you create a system which is a structured way to deliver your creativity and your ideas, and when you connect this, and this is very much analytical, more boring, like not so much creative, but when you connect it to your creativity, then you're start being productive. That's
Yes.
the way how it at
Most definitely, yeah. And I felt that too. I felt that sort of. I compared the process when I first started reading your content and started to journal and organize my thoughts,
yeah,
like taming like a wild horse, because my mind resisted that. Like my mind resisted all these templates and all these things.
yeah,
But I would just go back and do it. Like I would get frustrated and I would stop, but the next day I would start again. Maybe
yeah,
instead of trying to do like a whole post, just do one sentence. Like just
yeah,
start with one little thing, and then just build, add to that sentence, and gradually, you relax. Like, or at least I relaxed. I felt more relaxed. I felt uh, more coherent, I guess. Like I could hold a thought in my head longer, and
yeah,
I could carry that thought or that idea into a finished post that made sense, and still had that energy,
yeah,
still had that like a spice of entertainment and that
yeah,
heat that I guess I'm known for. That sort of like frenetic pacing in my writing,
yeah,
but still communicates the idea. And
yeah.
it's just that, it's just sort of in the personal growth that I read, that there is a guru, I guess, who uses the expression like, "What are you resisting?" So that's what it is. When I stop resisting the templates, when I start resisting the technical parts, the boring aspects of it, things got easier. Everything just became easier. But it
Exactly.
was just that first part. I had to stop resisting. I had to just kind of
Yeah,
stop being wild and untamed. Just kind of go with it. Don't resist it. Just not even necessarily give into it. Just sort of go with it. Like don't
with the flow.
like just flow with it.
Yeah,
Flow,
yeah,
flow with it, and then just do it often enough, and you start feeling the change. You start feeling the change first in your mind,
yeah,
and then on what you're writing and how you're presenting things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really amazing. All right, how do you how did your Substack journey begin? How did you decide to come to Substack?
Okay, so it's funny. I can never remember exactly how I came across Substack. I think maybe someone on Twitter introduced me to it. Someone that I
I
follow on Twitter,
influenced a little bit that decision
or
as well on Twitter. Maybe I think we discussed a little bit about it. I think you found
yeah, I
me.
do know. I did see your ad on X, yeah, or
Yeah,
formerly Twitter. I
yeah,
saw it there, but before that, I think it was someone that I follow on Twitter and engage with. That
yeah,
I think he mentioned Substack, and I went over, and I kind of liked it. I like the simplicity of it. Like you just write. That's it. You just
yeah.
open an account. You don't even need to really have an account. You just log in with an
Exactly.
email,
Yeah,
and you don't even need a password for it. So that right away, that I like that about it. That the simplicity of access to it,
yeah,
and the fact that you write and you publish, and that's it. And ever since then, they've added more features. Like there's audio now, there's video, there's notes, I guess, which is kind of like the place to sort of make your. It's like the business card version, the digital business card version of
yeah,
introducing yourself. And I had it for a while, and I was writing, but like I said, I was erratic. I was all over the place. And then I kind of just abandoned it. When we kind of spent more time on X again, X kind of started changing their terms of service, and I kind of went back to Substack again.
Yeah.
But this time I went more with thinking of a system. It's like, okay, I was doing stuff before, but I was all over the place. Like I'm noticing. I didn't notice you right away, but I noticed other people posting things and saying you should do things this way, you should do things that way.
Yeah.
And I made the decision, okay, pick one person, pick someone whose content appeals to you. It feels accessible, I guess. It feels like something that you can read,
Yeah.
and just stay with them for long enough. And so I chose you. I chose to subscribe to your newsletter,
Yeah.
and I just started doing the exercises, like, how we do like the writing challenge, where you every day
Yeah.
in anywhere from 1 to 5 pieces of content and engaged with X amount of people every day.
Yeah.
And that process started shaping things in my mind. And that sent me back to journaling. And okay, so now I journal, I go back to Substack. And at first it's kind of all over the place. But if I go back to journal and I go back to Substack, it starts getting clearer. It starts getting more coherent. It starts getting more organized. And that in turn also sent me looking for people who were doing something similar to what I was doing
Yeah.
and what I was looking for. Like I said, I just came in and I just did things for a little while and then I left. This
Yeah.
time I came with more purpose, or gradually I started building a purpose from reading your content and the content of other people. So that's kind of how the experience started, and then it shaped itself into what it is now, into Mindset and Mythos.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe would you tell us a little bit more about it now that you're mentioning?
All right, so I guess I did that earlier, but let me see if I can say it a little differently now. So
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that I explored, storytelling, because storytelling is kind of like it's the fabric of everything. I consider like storytelling is how traditions are passed.
Yeah.
It's how things are taught in a way that doesn't feel like you're reading a technical manual. It's a fun way to learn about traditions and urban myths. So there's horror, for example.
Yeah.
Local legends, people in your neighbor that no one's ever heard of outside of that neighbor, but
Yeah.
they're very significant in that neighbor, in that community. They're very influential. So storytelling is what does that. And then I start with that, but then I was like, okay, but what I said about storytelling, like there's something else, because I respond to some genres more than others. So again, going back to all that studying, all that reflection, I sort of gain specificity about some things that I'm drawn to. And that is mythology. Like, mythology is like the history of something, like the past that is not present now, but informs what is happening in the present. So I became very obsessed with that. And then that sent me into like a rabbit hole of pop culture, like looking up um, not just popular, but underseen TV shows, movies, books, novels, comics, and sort of looking into the origin story of the thing, like how the thing was made. What was the culture like when, say, for example, The Eternaut was made? This a comic book made in Argentina that's very influential now, and has a fascinating history regarding the creator. Because the creator did it as a response to things that were happening in Argentina in the 1950s. So that started becoming the meat that informs Mindset and Mythos. Like not just the storytelling, but how the sausage is made, I guess. Like the process. Like I try to put myself back into the time of creation. What was going on when a writer and an artist or a filmmaker was compelled to make this particular movie that may not be big, may not be like $1 million blockbuster, but it's this quietly influential thing. It's something that repeats itself. It's something that just pops up in conversations about movies or about books or about anything. So that's kind of what I do. I study that. And because a lot of that stuff is underseen, I want to bring attention to it as well. I want to say, if you like samurai movies, like last night I recorded something for a samurai movie that I saw this weekend for to participate in a friend's podcast. Yeah. And it was just like a lot of fun, a great experience. So I was like, okay, I'm going to record about that because I want people to know about this movie. I want people to see this and how it reflects what was going on in Japan in the 1960s. So that's kind of what Mindset and Mythos is about. It's about storytelling, but it's also about pop culture and bringing attention to underseen things that I consider to be gems of storytelling.
Like behind the scenes, actually, of the creation of the.
Yes, yeah. Whatever you can share too sometimes, because sometimes there's not enough material. But from my perspective as a creator, it's like, well, let me see if I can actually do a sort of time travel. Let me see if I can actually physically or psychically put myself back there.
Yeah.
Right from that place, and then bring that back into the present.
Yeah. Interesting. Are you able to do that actually? Have you?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, in a sort of bare bones practical way, in that I look at something in a movie. I look at a particular thing in a movie, something that happens,
Yeah,
and then I read about that scene, whatever I can find, and I say, okay, so they made that decision because they could not move the camera much too far from here. It had to stay in this space, or they did that because they only had so much money,
yeah,
or they did that because the star demanded it. Like I just I can make these little guesses that sometimes turn out to be true. Sometimes if there's information available, it turns out to be
yeah,
true, but often it's speculation. But one of the fun things about media, storytelling media, like movies and comics and books, is to speculate. Movies in particular, they don't really do that now, but older media, older movies used to have that, and that they there was something unresolved. There was like one little plot point that wasn't resolved,
yeah,
and after the movie you would go back with your friends to talk about what that meant, what that thing that wasn't resolved, and you
exactly.
would say, okay, I'm gonna go see it again, let's go see it again.
Yeah, to watch
So
for
a
those
lot of media
moments.
doesn't really do that anymore. It doesn't give you that little sense of like a little mystery, a little hook, a little something to stay in your mind, to linger in your mind afterwards.
Exactly.
So movies now, they feel like they over explain now.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but some, like a lot of the stuff coming from the main 10 from Hollywood.
Yeah, now that I'm listening to you and you while we were talking, I was thinking maybe you could create an entire show about it, like in videos and like we have those on the TV, so you could create it online and put it out there on YouTube as well. I think it would be really interesting to
I
watch.
think I'm building up to that. Yeah, like I'm looking at YouTubers who do that now and figuring out how to do that in a way that is not too time consuming. Because some videos you can tell that there's a lot of research into them. They're really impressive, and I said, well, I want to fulfill that, and I don't want to just make up stuff completely when
Yeah,
I'm talking about a particular artist. But
yeah,
I only have a little amount of time to do that in. So I figure, okay, how do I do this? How do I
yeah,
present that in a way that it's gives you the value, the entertainment value that you seek, that
yeah,
sort of curiosity, because I
exactly.
guess that's what I'm making this for those people who are curious about, again, how the sausage is made. You want that little extra nugget of information on how things are made, so how to
Yes,
give them that value, but
yes,
still not take too much time to do it, not to take a lot of time to get it done.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's really interesting. Um, okay, what can you share a little bit more about what your paid subscribers are getting as benefits?
Okay, so the paid subscribers are going to get like a sort of, they will get that, they will get that behind the scenes in the form of a video essay or an audio essay. But there's also going to be like a sort of breakdown of the research too. Like, okay, so these are the sources that I found. In some instances, depending on the people that if the creators are not alive anymore, like the original creators, and I'm not able to talk to them directly and provide that video as well, like a video interview, I will try to provide the video interview of maybe talking to a relative, like a close living relative who may be an executor of
Amazing.
their estate, of the creations. So I'm gonna try to provide that. I'm gonna try to provide that sort of that feeling of like research materials, of like that feeling that you get of going through like old stuff. When you go through old stuff, like I don't know that that's not for everybody, but I know that some people take like a great enjoyment, and I did that as a kid. I love going through like old photo albums, looking at albums that seeing people who might not have been no longer alive, but looking at the photos and creating stories in your mind about them. So I provide that as well. In addition to also I share the process of what I'm currently working on at the moment. Right now, it's a graphic novel. In the future, it could be an ARG, but all of those things will be there for them to look at. Like, this is how it's made, and if this appeals to you, you also have an opportunity to participate in some capacity. Like, let's say we're doing something using Instagram. It's
Yeah,
like, well, you could be a character. You could join with your account as a character, and we could start building a narrative together. You could start influencing the narrative, where you could start shaping it, having it go in another direction. Maybe you make things, but you never thought of doing something further with it. Like, you make props, you
yeah,
create things, but you don't do anything with them. Let's bring those into the narrative. Let's see how we can take this wild card aspect that you do and make something now different, something that is greater than than just one and one and one, however many people are involved. So
yeah.
that's what they get. They get that sense of being a participant, and they get that sense of like peeking over the shoulder of the creator.
Interesting. Yeah, amazing, amazing. It's really sometimes I'm wondering how do you find all that energy to do all of that? It's really amazing.
It's something that I guess I've always been drawn to. Like, it's probably the thing that I am. that I've stayed with the most in terms of like, doing something, like when you're a kid, you do something for a little while, then you do another thing, then you stop that, you do another little thing. Stories have always been the thing that I've stayed with. Like I've always enjoyed movies, but I've always enjoyed novels as well. And when I hear about a writer or a particular book, and it has this aura of mystery to it, that is excuse me, but it's something that is supposed to be great, but it's a little bit hard to find. That makes me actually more excited to find them. Like that element of inaccessibility. So I try to bring a little bit of that mystery as well, because we live in an era where it seems like on the platforms, oversharing is how you get more attention, more views, and I don't like that. Like I appreciate the creators, but when they start like oversharing, in my mind, I'm almost like, okay, so your views are slipping, and you're just doing desperate things to stay current, to stay with your views and all that. So hopefully, I'm bringing a little bit of that sense of mystery as well, like the idea of inaccessibility, which I think makes things more desirable. When something is just in ample supply, it says, well, I can just get it, or you don't even want to pay for things anymore. Like, I have friends who do podcasts, and sometimes they post the audio on YouTube, for example. It's something they do for themselves. But so they have people write to them and tell them, why didn't you upload the movie? And they're like saying, well, just like rent it on YouTube, rent it on like Google Movies. Like there's dozens of platforms. You can just go and get the movie. We're just simply sharing our take on the movie. You
Yes.
can just go and find it for yourself. But they get upset that they're not posting the movie for them to look at. Like, so some people just don't even want to pay for things anymore. And I
Mm.
think maybe keeping a little bit of mystery, keeping things a little bit inaccessible, starts to curb that sense of entitlement, that things should just all be available for you.
Yeah.
Like we come from a generation where you had to pay for everything. If you wanted an album, you had to go to the record store, get
Exactly.
the album. If you wanted to go to watch a movie, you had to go buy the VHS or rent the VHS.
Yeah.
Comics, books, everything. You had to go someplace. You had to physically move yourself someplace
Yeah.
and get it. We're in this place where everything comes to you, so people, I guess, don't feel motivated to do anything anymore. So, well, the only way to counteract that, I guess, is to make it limited edition. I think it's a harder go doing that because people don't want to pay for anything. But I think there's still some people who value that, who value having to search for things, who value the quest, the quest of finding something. Like the people who look for very rare editions of books. That's like a really big deal
Yeah. Yeah.
to some people. Finding like a rare limited edition of Slaughterhouse Five or a Naked Lunch, that's like a really big deal. Some people acquiring that book after years and years of searching for it, that is a really special thing to them. So I am appealing to those people who value the quest, who value looking for things that are not quite as accessible as the million of things that are accessible to them now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in a way the creator economy is moving towards payments again, and putting the more and more content behind the paywall, and it becomes again you have to pay for it, but in a different way. So before, and I also remember those times when we had to like pay for everything before the internet disrupted this industry.
Yes, yeah.
Heavily. And now nobody wants to pay about anything. But then Netflix came, and then more apps like this and services like the streaming services where you can watch on demand, which disrupted a little bit the television and the
Mm.
traditional like movies. And now we are moving towards those paid subscriptions where actually the creators are able to deliver their content and their ideas and creativity directly to consumers, so you don't have to have those distributors of your content, and they can
Yes.
direct.
Yeah, it's a gray area. I'm not really sure. This is part of the reason why I subscribe to you, because you seem to be keeping up with that. I'm not really. I kind of sense it, but I'm not deep into it. But there seem to be tiers of that, because there are some people who, I guess, they're so specific about what they do. They're able to communicate it so clearly that they have like their very specific niche audience, and it may not be a large audience. It could be just a few thousand people,
Yeah.
but that seems to be enough to sustain what they do. Like, and they're able to just sell directly to those few thousand people.
Yeah.
That is perfect. So I'm kind of interested in that, and just learning, getting more specific about myself and finding that what Seth Godin calls the smallest viable audience. He has that expression, meaning it's not in the millions. It's a very micro specific thing
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
is very interested in your very micro specific thing. So I think about that as like, well, how do I make myself even more specific? How can I be more specific about myself to just target those people, find those people, I'm your guy, like I'm for you. And then from there, if anybody else wants to come in, they will come in through that audience. Like I won't necessarily be marketing myself. They just simply are invited by their friends
Yeah.
or relatives or people who say, "Oh, you should check out this thing. It's
Yeah.
right up your alley. What you're describing, this guy does." So that's
Yeah.
kind of what it is. Yeah, because I'm not really sure. Like you said, there's subscription services, and YouTube also has the same thing. Like YouTube has like subscriber, but then they have membership also, and I guess that you do that through a Patreon.
Yeah.
So, and I guess Substack does the same thing. So I'm not really sure yet, like where am I in that, but I want to do something like that, something that I'm so specific, rather than aiming for a large number of people. Even though I guess there's millions of users on the platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do I find my couple of thousand out of those 20 million or whatever they are?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and more creators are saying the same thing. You don't have to aim for thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of subscribers. You only need the right people, like 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 even. But if your content is really good enough and specific enough, I'm also obsessed about being specific. Then you can make a living out of such a small audience. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah, specificity was the thing that I struggled with. I was talking about how like I was scatterbrained.
Yeah.
When I started asking those questions, like, what are you making? And I was like, I couldn't answer the question really. And that's when the struggle started. I had to like really think about it and think about it. And I'm able to answer it better now. Like I wouldn't say I'm completely 100% specific, but I can do much better now than a few months ago. And when I first subscribed and I started doing the exercises, I was like, it was giving me a headache to think about what I was trying to, who am I for? But
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, it's better now. I can explain myself better. And hopefully from there, I'll get more specific as well. And in turn, the content will become more specific for them as well.
That's the benefit of being able to interact with somebody and leading a conversation with somebody to guide you in the right thinking direction. It's because it's not always easy, and with your niche, it's really. I think it's challenging. It would be really challenging for me to get to those specifics and shape up the publication in the way that you did. I think it became a really amazing publication, really nice, and also from design perspective and point of view. And yeah, it's the content and ideas. It's now very much more focused and specific to the right audience. And yeah, and also in the future, I wanted to. You already shared a little bit, but do you also plan something new to introduce in the near future in your Substack?
Like a new feature or like a new, I'm not sure what you mean.
Or content or
Oh, okay. Well, I want to start doing like audio and video as well because one thing about me is I get self-conscious having to talk in front of a camera. It makes me nervous to do that. Yeah, so I figure, well, anything that I'm resistant, then that's the thing that I must do, and I'm resistant that. I'm resisting doing video. I'm now getting to the point where I can do audio. Like I can do it with friends. So it's like, okay, now I gotta get to the place where I can just sit down with my little script or at least my set of notes and say something, without like stammering and being all over the place and being, coherent like I am with the writing now. So those are the two things that I want to introduce as well, like that extra dimension of audio and video as well, because there is so much like video. There's so much people post so much content too. It's like, okay, I want to do that, but I want to try to be specific as well. I don't want to just try to sort of go on and just talk and talk in a way because one decision that I made early on about mindset and mythos is I try to keep everything brief. Like my posts are short. Like posts are something that you can read in a few minutes because I'm thinking of the person, like, in my situation, someone who has a job and only has a few minutes to read something. It was something that they may be very interested in. And it's going to be the same with the audio. I'm going to try to keep them, try to be between 10 and 15 minutes because I figure that's maybe all the time you have before you have to do something with your family or you have to go back to your job and maybe you're doing it on your lunch break. So I try to keep those things brief, and that's I want to carry that brevity over into audio and video as well. I want to make them I wouldn't say actionable, but specific, and to the punch. Like it gives you like the thrill that you're looking for, the thing that you're
yeah.
looking for when you listen to something that I'm putting together for you. It gives you that little thrill of like getting into the mind of a creator and sort of demystifying that too, taking away that idea that still endures of a creator being like a gifted person who is sort of it's like special and really not really. No, it's really just you're obsessed. It's just a thing that you're obsessed with, and you mix that with something from another creator that you admire,
Yeah.
and then that combination is your thing.
Right.
So I want to like make that, like make it seem anybody can do it. Anybody can do a thing, whether it be making a comic book, creating a meme, or sharing knowledge about fishing. Maybe you have a very specific trick you learn when you go fishing,
Yeah.
and you never thought it was worth something, but to some fishers, like I'm sure it means a lot. So it's about that, about demystifying the creative process. Like what I'm going through, like that process that I went through to get more specific,
Yeah.
to go from like confusion to straight line. I'm sharing that as well. Even I'm doing it through comics, through fiction, through videos and all that. But it's a framework that can be applied to anything, from like, say, playing cards. Maybe you want to get better at playing Uno. So someone out there probably has that knowledge in their head, but they
Yeah.
never thought anything of it. It's like, no, like, you just apply the framework that I'm doing. And then you can do that with Uno. You can do that with Monopoly. You can do it with like maybe ARGs, like anything like that. And it can be applied to anything. It's just sort of having, in marketing, they use that expression, aware, most aware.
Aware.
Becoming aware that what you have in your head actually is valuable to someone, however esoteric or rare it may be. There is someone who needs that,
Yeah.
but you never thought of that. So it's hopefully reading my content will make you aware of that, and will make you interested in trying to put it together in a way that is easy for someone to read or listen to or watch in a video.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely. No, it's amazing. It's really amazing. I think everybody should read your publication and join, especially people who are interested in those movies and the process behind it's you can learn so much.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah, yeah, I really like it. Okay, can you talk now a little bit more about your Substack journey, and if you can share any tips for other people about how you grow your audience, or how you developed your Substack? Anything like lessons learned that you along the journey?
Okay. I guess I would say, if you can, invest in someone, sign up with someone. Like if you find someone that their content resonates with you, invest that time, invest a little bit of money in doing that, because trying to figure things out on your own when you don't have that outside perspective, you kind of, well, you're adrift. You don't understand that until someone kind of asks you certain questions that challenge what you do. It's like you don't have that thing that pauses you and makes you stop and starts kind of changing starts the process that starts changing your mindset. Like that's what happened to me. That's part of the reason why it's called mindset.
Yes.
So invest in that, and don't be afraid to just post. Post while that first post while, and share your journey. Share your journey, how you're going from it's not very good to seeing how it gets better, because that's encouraging to people. When people see that, they go to your first post, and then they go to your 50 or 100 post, and it's like, oh, cool, there is progress. And hopefully you're a person who's open to learning as well. You're not going to be a troll. Like trolls are different, because they come in with the mindset that no matter how great you've gotten from post 1 to post X, they're going to find something to criticize. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's not for those people. But if you're someone who is intrigued by this and it interests you, just watch someone's journey, watch their journey, just see how they improve, and let them know, let them say that, because they might actually say, well, thank you so much for saying that. Like I learned this by so and so, by someone named Yana. She helped me get to this place, so maybe you want to reach out to her.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, that start posting. Don't try to be perfect later on. Like start now, and don't even get perfect, just get better, just start improving gradually with each post. Yeah, like leave the idea of perfection. There's a marketer that I look at their content sometimes, and he says, power perfection equals poverty, and I'm like, okay, I like that saying, I like that
I
idea.
like that too. I never heard it,
Yeah,
but it's so
it's
true. Yeah.
great. Yeah, so that's one of the, outside of that's another influence that has shaped how I do things as well. Of just get it done, think, get it done. Especially when it comes to art, like there is that analysis paralysis of like
Yes.
working on a piece forever and forever. And it's like, no, do the best you can with this one, share it with the world, and expose yourself to the trolls, because that also makes you tougher when you are handling their abuse, and you can actually just ignore their abuse and go on to the next piece,
Exactly.
and then the next piece will be better. And then you did the best you could with this one and put it out there, and then you go on to the next one, and gradually you'll hear the trolls less. They will actually kind of disappear. They'll shrink in size and become like, and then you don't hear them anymore, and you get better in the meantime. And you're also attracting people who like your content, and they like your journey as well. So that is really, as far as growth, I don't really have a lot to say, other than take your notes and maybe treat them like a mini portfolio, I guess. Like you have
Love that.
one or two themes that your Substack is about. Make your notes about those one or two themes, like in some ways, I'll write a few notes and sometimes I'll recycle those notes and they become a post or two posts later on. I'm able to expand on them in a post. So do that, take that time through the bad writing, through the better writing, on and on to figure out what you're about. What is the thing that you're about, and then from there you can construct notes as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
and other
love that.
methods I don't.
I know I keep saying that to people who are asking me also about some kind of a content strategy for notes. It's really important because notes is the top of your funnel. They are actually attracting the subscribers to you. And if you have, I see a lot of people are sharing a lot of personal stuff like how they had what happened during their day, um,
Mhm.
how their vacation went, some photos from their trips and so on, and how, their friends and family and things like that. But it's not really connected to your Substack. And then those type of notes, even if they go viral, that's even worse because they're getting exposure through the wrong content, because people will
Mm.
not really react to you and subscribe. And I learned that the hard way. I did my first viral note was something like that. It wasn't really connected. It was a personal update. It wasn't connected at all with my Substack, and it was really huge. It went like 10,200 likes, and I got
Mm.
a lot of comments. I think maybe 100. I don't know, maybe not 100, but a lot of comments, like 20, 30 per day. It is really hard for me to stay on track and answering all of the comments to this note. But a lot of those comments were actually asking me about more, where they can learn more about me as a person, and not so much
Mm.
about what I do on Substack. So they were interested um, uh, uh, to learn more, which is connected to that note and not what I was
I
doing.
think I remember that. Was it the one about your mom, maybe?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was very moving. It was very moving, but like you said, it was just not related to your thing, to the thing that you're
exactly.
specifically on Substack for.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember seeing very recently someone who also posted a note, and she talked about how she gained 200 plus subscribers in one day. But then she said over the next few days, a lot of them started unsubscribing because I guess they jumped on the board because of that one note. But when they saw her regular content, they found out that it was not at all connected to the note. So I guess there's that problem. There's always that risk of like, oh man, that is great, but they don't stay. Like, and you want
Yeah,
that, you want them to stay and to hopefully bring their friends and their family along too.
yeah, yeah. So it's really important your notes to be connected to your Substack.
I
So
guess, yeah, no matter, if you're having a bad day, I guess maybe talk about that with your partner, with your family or someone. Like maybe
exactly.
don't go to post because it's also um, one thing I have. I recently posted something, a short comic book that I made with someone about this engagement farming tactic that it really irritates me when they're so like, hey, I want to meet people. Like, drop your links, like
Yeah,
I felt for that at first when I came to the platform. Over time, I started figuring, okay, I think these people are lying. They're not gonna read anything. This is just a way to get engagement
exactly. Yes.
by getting people thinking you're going to engage. And it's like, so we me and another writer, we put a short story together in comic book form. We kind of gave it like a horror twist about, but it's about that. It's about like people who
Exactly.
engage in stuff like that. Like using,
Yeah.
like, I guess the lowest common denominator, like using cheap sympathy and things like that to get engagement,
Yes.
which is probably not going to last. Like you said, it might get you a lot of people for one day, one afternoon, but then it's just they're gone.
No, no.
So
And the other thing is that even if they stay, it's really, really difficult to monetize or to convert them to paid, because they originally subscribed to you for something else and not your
mm,
offer.
I
So
guess it's almost like it's not explicitly stated, but it's like a form of betrayal. Like subconsciously, you're kind of you go back on your word. I don't do it often, but I write about that, about how entertainment, because there's an ideology driving entertainment and business as well.
yeah,
They do these things where like they show you one thing, you tune in to watch the thing,
yeah,
and they flip things completely. It's like, oh, you thought it was gonna be this person starring that you love so much. No, he's the supporting actor. Like this person that you never heard of, she's the lead. And
yeah,
of course, people tune out, and
yeah,
it gets harder to get them to come back for your next thing. So
exactly.
yeah, it's funny how that's happening everywhere. Even on Substack, you have that thing, that deception, that
Yeah,
subtle form of psychological deception.
yeah, yeah. It's not the healthy way to grow in any way. It's
Yes,
simply
yeah.
not.
It's very
Okay.
tempting to do it as well because of the engagement that you get. So I guess you have to get in your mind clear about that. About that's something that I still have to deal with. Like when something gets a lot of likes, I get excited, but it's like, well, how many subscribers did I get? And
Yeah,
if it's zero, it's like, well, it wasn't good then.
yeah, yeah,
It was
exactly.
so it's another thing. I guess because I haven't spent so much time on X, I'm still kind of like detoxing myself from the likes, from the vanity metrics that don't really
Exactly. Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, very, very true. All right. Um, Another question. If you had to start Substack all over again, what would you do differently?
I guess I would have just gotten started. I would just get started and reach out to people immediately. Like I just kind of did it for like maybe 9 months, and then I just kind of abandoned it, just kind of left it.
Yeah.
And I guess I would have just stayed with it, just keep staying with it. But I would have, looked for someone like you sooner, so I could get that direction, so I can get my head clear about it and keep going with it. Because who knows how much further along I would be now if I just stay with it,
Yeah.
but had gotten that guidance in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't at first I was getting a lot of attention, then it kind of went away, and I didn't know what to do. I just abandoned it. I just kind of walked away from it.
Yeah.
And then I got back to it, but this time I had that awareness of, okay, so there is like a system here. There is a way to make this leverage it in your favor. But I
Exactly.
guess you have to do some work. You have to do some work, and it's uncomfortable.
It is.
But the sooner you get used to the idea that you have to do the work, and if you do the work and you find a way to make it challenging and positive, it's enjoyable. It's not this like task. It's not like something painful and difficult to do. So
Yes.
that's what I would do. I would just I would have stayed with it, and I would have sought the advice of someone sooner, or a few people sooner. And
Yeah.
that's really the main thing. Just find someone to start challenging you, to start sort of like nudging you in the direction of your thing. Like
Yes.
you gain clarity about yourself, then
Yes.
the writing changes, and then you apply the tactics, which is just doing those things daily, but doing them with that clarity of self, with that clarity of purpose. So
Exactly.
yeah, I would have just stayed with it longer and look for help in the beginning, look for someone to start guiding you in the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anybody coming in, yeah, just that, just
Yeah.
come in and look for a group, look for a group of people who, like your group that you have, the group that you have for writing challenges and for
Support.
templates and things like that.
Yeah, a supportive community that can help
Mhm.
you grow faster, and also not only the growth, but it's also that creates this sense of belonging and the ability to discuss with other people, which really is really helpful.
Yes, that's one thing I like about when I read about posts about people who are now like doing videos together. They're doing projects together. That's one of the things that eventually I would like to do. Also, the collaborations that I mentioned, like
Yes.
through the subscriber tiers.
Yes.
So it's exciting to see that, like in a way, because it feels like you can still do that here in a sort of wholesome way. It feels like on X it's very difficult to do that. Instagram is very difficult to do that because everybody is looking out for themselves. They
Exactly.
still want to like retain some sort of superstar status over the other person. And here it seems like people are coming with no ego, no agenda, just coming together just to do something.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
hopefully
Just
it'll stay like
to
that for a while.
yeah, just to
It won't get
collaborate,
corrupted.
because to get only to get more exposure to other audiences, like different external audiences, but also because of the joy of it, I would say, because it's
Yes,
really you have that sense of real community here on Substack. Not never
agreed.
I never saw that on any social media. Um,
Very true. Yeah, and I know, and I spent probably more time than I should have on X. I still haven't entirely abandoned it because I have found some good people there, but oh yeah, like X is exhausting.
it
It
is.
tires you to be on that
It
platform for every day, every single day,
it
and
is.
being hours too, hours on end. It's
Yeah,
not healthy.
it
But
is.
in here, you can do that. You can just come in specific. You can, for a little while, and your message keeps going on its own. Like their friends, they keep moving it forward, and
Exactly.
people are talking about you even if you're not there. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really good. It's a great little platform.
Yes, yes, like a camp actually, like a
Yes, yes, a camp. Hopefully, it's not going to explode into like
yeah.
like a congested village.
Hopefully, yes, yes. Okay, can you mention some books that have significantly influenced your life? Do you remember some titles?
Okay, so one big one, a really big one was The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I love how he sort of brought this element of like to creating art. He brought this element of like it's like an arena, it's a battle. It's a
Okay.
battle, but it's a battle that is internal. It's a battle with the self, and he brought the idea of the concept of going pro when you're doing, your craft, whatever that may be. but you're doing it with a sense of almost like a samurai, I guess, almost like with a sense of duty to the craft itself, because that helps you to not worry so much about trends. It's very tempting to start following trends because you see those vanity metrics, and it's very tempting to abandon that. But if you have that mindset of the warrior towards your writing or your drawing or journaling or or fishing, whatever that thing may be, it keeps you
Yeah.
focused. It keeps you sort of on that space. It gives it this honor bound sense of duty that you have to do. So The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield is a great one. Let me
I love
see.
one which is similar. I don't know if you know it. It's the Art of War or something like that.
Oh, well, The War of Art, that's Sun Tzu.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's like an ancient text, which
yes,
that actually is a great book as well because it goes into the idea of how warfare is psychological,
yes,
and this is also mental. You play that mental game with yourself, and you're able, if you gain control over your own self, over your own your monkey mind, then you can show yourself at your best on the platform. So what Stephen Pressfield did is he flipped the words on the title. So instead of the art of war, he said the war of art.
yeah,
And I thought that was so clever too. I thought that was such a clever thing. By flipping those two
yes,
words, he just completely changed the meaning of that book. So
yeah,
that
exactly.
is a great book to read. Let me see. I'm trying to think of other titles. Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry. Uh,
No, it's okay. One is also okay. It doesn't, you know, have if you don't
because
remember.
there's a couple more that I are really good, but it's just that I cannot think of the title right now. Like
Um, okay,
hmm.
but maybe you
Let me
can
look at
tell.
my bookshelf to see if I can maybe see a peek at the title from here. Um,
Or maybe you can share what it is all about if you remember.
okay, yes. Okay. Oh, so yeah, I remember now. It's called The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco.
Okay.
It's again, it's not a fat book, but the value is miles deep, and it's a book about the idea of that you can build your own money tree. You can create something. You can create a system, a product, or a service that makes money for you. And
Yeah,
that's something that I'm still trying to get my head around that. Because as someone who has just had a job his entire adult life,
yeah,
the idea of like creating something that makes money for you
yeah,
is it's vital. It's something that it's one of the processes that I talk about with you about changing my mindset about how I do this here. Part of that mindset is also getting used to the idea of being paid for doing something that you think is fun but can be a business, because
exactly.
it's one of the things that I struggle with, the notion that why would anybody pay you to do this?
Yeah,
And yet, and if you struggle with that, well, yes, people will not pay you for it. So it's a book that helped me sort of frame it in that context, because he uses businesses specifically, but he uses examples from other media as well. For example, he mentions cannot remember her name now, but the author of the Harry Potter books. He mentions how, as a single mom, she made the time to write these books.
yeah,
She had to deal with tons of rejection.
yeah,
She found a way to do it, and these books they've gone way beyond the books themselves. They've become a huge multimedia empire. So
yeah,
he addresses that as like this thing becomes your money tree, but you have to make the time for it, and you have to get into your mind, like get that into your mind that you can do that, because everything starts in the mind. So that was one book that I still reread. I have to go back to it time to time, because I struggle with the idea of like asking, like the
yeah,
ask for money.
yeah,
It's something that is, and I'm sure you probably went through that yourself. Maybe also you can probably relate to that as
yeah.
well as the people who subscribe to you. It's one of the hardest things to do, to get to that stage where you feel comfortable asking for something, asking for compensation for something that you do. So,
Exactly, yes. For me, it was very, very long time ago because I was it happened in my job because
mm,
I was so most of the time I was doing product development, product management, creating products like this type of like everything from the marketing perspective, not just advertising, but also pricing, features, product packaging, and all of that. But a big part of it, I also did sales. So I had to go to,
mm.
to customers and ask for the money. And that's where the reality hits actually, because before that you are mostly in the creative process and doing some stuff. But when you sit down at one table with the person who is supposed to give you money for what you do, it's a great shift.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you started getting that shift to be comfortable asking for the money? Because I imagine you had to do it, or you were not going to stay there, right? Like you wouldn't have kept your
Uh,
job if you hadn't gotten over that hurdle.
Yeah, I cover big part of it. So the whole Substack quest that I'm creating right now, it's
Oh, yes.
it's
Okay.
it's all about this. But yeah, if I have to shape that specifically in a like one sentence, it is, you don't if you talk about to your customer, to your potential customer, if you talk about your features or whatever you're doing, nobody will buy. And that's the reason why most of the writers are having this, this barrier for selling. They don't feel very comfortable selling.
Mm,
Also like the same uncomfortable feeling that you have, maybe it's because
yes.
you are thinking how to shape and present and form and talk about what you're doing, but it's not that. It's always about solving a problem for the customer. So you have to think about from their point of view, and the conversation always starts with asking some. It's not just an icebreaker, but it is start talking about their challenges and their struggles and their problems, and then see how you can connect whatever you're offering with that. that's
Mhm. I
that's
remember from our last call that I was having a struggle, like explaining the offers. I was having a struggle. I'm like, I'm gonna run this by ChatGPT. I'm stuck. I cannot get done with this.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really,
Yes.
you have to have a problem, really painful problem, and you have to have a different solution, which is solving this problem either faster or easier, or saves money. It's cheaper, for example, and then all of the you have to connect those things to the outcome. So you have to understand why this person is sitting and talking to you. That's the key.
Mm.
And in the
Okay. Very
content,
good.
yeah, in the content in online, it's very difficult because you don't have a person standing or sitting in front of you, so you cannot really tell what are their challenges. You have to research that. You have to find what's really your audience trying to achieve, and then connect your content to this.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. So one more book. The Four Agreements. I cannot remember the name of the author right now, but it's these four basic rules
I
that
have
if you
heard of
can make
that.
them a part of your. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I have heard of that, I think.
Okay, again, it's a really skinny book, but the value, like what it teaches you, is miles deep, and it's just four basic agreements. If you make these four basic agreements with yourself and you practice them daily, you have like that level of personal freedom where you're able to operate, you're able to think about things in a way that is not where your ego is not so ruling your mind and making decisions for you,
Yeah, yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah,
which
thank
is
you for sharing.
important. When it comes to again going to getting into that headspace of you're a business now, you need to think like a business person.
Exactly. Yes. If you want to make money, you have to think like a business person. It's a must. It is. Okay,
Yes.
last question. If money is not an issue, what would you do?
I would travel to places that have made movies and published comics that I'm a big fan of. So Italy, Japan, and Argentina. I would try to meet the creators of those things if they're still alive, or the ones that are still alive.
Yeah,
I would try to reprint the ones that I feel are very special, but maybe because of their age or because they were not like big sellers in their day, publishers may not be interested in them. So I would be just trying to bring that into the press and bring it to the attention of people. It's like, wow, if you like this person, this modern creator, there is a line that takes this creator all the way back to this other creator. So
yeah,
you should check this guy out or this other artist.
yeah.
So that's what I would do. That's pretty much what I.
Amazing.
And then
I
I guess
love
I
it.
would collect rare editions of comic books, like vintage comics. I do that now as much as I can within my means, and collectibles also, like a limited edition um lunch boxes of the $6 Million Man, like stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. So you basically do the same that you're doing right now, it's just at greater scale.
On a greater scale, pretty much, yeah. I would have a warehouse full of all that stuff, and probably I would sell it, but I would make sure that it's like the right person, someone who appreciates the thing. It's
Yeah,
not just gonna throw it in a corner of their home and then forget about it. It's like,
yeah,
why do you pay so much money for that if you're just gonna like just
yeah.
throw it in the trash?
Exactly. Exactly. Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for this conversation, Jay. I'm sure that it's going to be really, really important and interesting to our audience. And yes, for everybody who's watching, please subscribe to Jay and Mindset and Mythos. It's really an amazing publication. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I had a blast. I'm very grateful to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Join me for a spotlight session like this. All you need to do is to join one of my monthly challenges, either notes or writing. Stay consistent and make sure you add yourself to the accountability tracker. Oh, and you have to be one of my paid members. If you complete just one of those challenges in just one single month, it's highly probable that I will select you for a spotlight session so that you can talk about yourself, share your personal story, and spread the word about your Substack so that more people will learn about it and hopefully become your subscribers. I distribute those sessions to my entire subscriber list on Substack, ConvertKit, NowKit, and my Medium account and my social media channels. It's easy to win those challenges, and all you need to do is just to stay consistent. I see you inside.